What if I told you that one of the biggest reasons Americans struggle to build wealth isn't because they don't earn enough? It's because they never realize how expensive a small decisions become over time. Imagine it's 2015. You're running late for work. You stop at Starbucks. You order your usual, one latte and a breakfast sandwich. Around $10. Nothing crazy. You do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Fast forward 10 years. Those coffees are long gone. You don't remember drinking them. But what if, just once, instead of spending that same $100, you had bought Starbucks stock? How different would your financial life look today? The answer is bigger than you think. And it's not really about Starbucks. It's about how almost every American misunderstands opportunity cost. The $100 choice that could change everything. Let's run a little thought experiment. No complicated charts. No Wall Street jargon. Just two ordinary Americans. Meet Jake and Emily. They're both 28 years old. They both live in the same city. Both earn around the same salary. Both work full-time. Neither one was born rich. Neither has some secret investing strategy. And every Friday afternoon, after getting paid, they each have about $100 left over after covering their bills. Now here's where their stories begin to separate. Jake sees that extra $100 as fun money. Sometimes it's dinner with friends. Sometimes it's a new pair of sneakers on sale. Sometimes it's Starbucks every morning the following week. Other weeks it's Amazon. A Bluetooth speaker. A few things from Target. Food delivery because he's too tired to cook. Nothing outrageous. Nothing irresponsible. Just normal spending. By Monday morning, that $100 has usually disappeared. Emily enjoys those same things. She still grabs coffee with friends. She still goes out to dinner occasionally. She isn't living on instant noodles trying to save every penny. But every once in a while, instead of spending that extra $100, she asks herself one question. What if I became an owner instead of just a customer? One Friday, she opens her brokerage app. Instead of buying more stuff, she buys about $100 worth of Starbucks stock. Not because she knows the future. Not because someone on social media promised it would go to the moon. And definitely not because she thinks it's a guaranteed winner. She simply notices something interesting. Every morning, the Starbucks drive-thru is packed. Every airport she visits has one. College campuses have them. Hospitals have them. Downtown office buildings have them. People willingly stand in line and pay premium prices for coffee. She thinks, if millions of people keep spending money here, maybe owning a tiny piece of the business is worth considering. That's called thinking like an investor. Not chasing hype. Not gambling. Just paying attention to the businesses that are already part of everyday life. Now, let's pause for a second. Does that mean Starbucks was guaranteed to be a great investment? Absolutely not. Every company faces challenges. Consumer habits change. Competition increases. Management makes mistakes. Even strong companies can have years where their stock price falls. That's why smart investors never assume any single stock is a sure thing. They diversify. They research. And they invest for the long term rather than betting everything on one company. But here's what matters. Emily changed one habit. She stopped looking at money only as something to spend. She started looking at it as something that could own productive assets. That mindset alone puts her on a completely different financial path. Now imagine this habit repeating. Not every week. Not every month. Just consistently over many years. $100 here. Another $100 there. Some invested in companies she understands. Some invested in low-cost index funds that track hundreds of businesses across the U.S. market. Slowly. Without making headlines. She's building ownership. And ownership is one of the biggest differences between people who work for money and people whose money eventually starts working for them. Here's something fascinating. Millions of Americans proudly wear clothing with company logos. Nike, Apple, Costco, Home Depot, McDonald's, Amazon. They know these brands. They trust these brands. They recommend these brands to friends. But many never think about becoming partial owners of businesses they already know and understand. Instead, they spend money with these companies year after year, while someone else collects the potential benefits of ownership. It's a subtle difference. But over decades, it can become enormous. Now, let's make this even more relatable. Imagine it's 2015. You have exactly $100 sitting in your checking account. You have two choices. Choice number 1. Spend it over the next couple of weeks. Maybe coffees, lunches, impulse purchases. By the end of the month, you probably don't even remember what you bought. Choice number 2. Invest that same $100 in a productive asset and leave it alone for years. Will it always go up? No. Markets rise. Markets fall. Some years are exciting. Other years feel painful. That's simply how investing works. But historically, the US stock market has rewarded patient, long-term investors far more often than short-term traders who constantly jump in and out of investments. That's why time matters more than perfect timing. The earlier your money begins working, the longer compounding has to do its job. And compounding is one of the few financial advantages available to almost everyone, regardless of income. Warren Buffett once said that if he could leave people with just one lesson, it would be the power of compound interest. Not because it's exciting, but because it's incredibly effective. Think about planting a tree. The first few years, it barely looks different. Then one day, it provides shade, fruit, and keeps growing with very little help from you. Investing often feels exactly the same. The hardest part isn't picking the perfect stock. It's having the patience to let time work. That's why the real lesson isn't, you should have bought Starbucks. The real lesson is much bigger. It's this. Every paycheck gives you a decision. Will all of your money become consumption? Or will at least a small portion become ownership? Because one day you'll stop working. Your paycheck will stop. Your energy will slow down. But if you've spent years building ownership, your investments may continue generating value long after you've clocked out for the last time. And that's the difference most people don't notice when they're standing in line for their morning coffee. They think they're making a spending decision, when in reality, they're making an ownership decision. And once you understand that, you start seeing every dollar a little differently. In the next part, we'll explore why so many Americans unknowingly stay on the consumer side of the economy, and how shifting your mindset from buyer to owner can completely change the way you build wealth. Why most Americans stay customers instead of owners. Here's a question that might completely change the way you look at money. Think about yesterday. How many companies did you give your money to? Maybe you filled up your car at Chevron or Shell, picked up groceries at Costco, Walmart, or Kroger, ordered something from Amazon, used your Visa card to pay for dinner, bought an iPhone accessory, streamed Netflix before bed. Without realizing it, you probably interacted with a dozen publicly traded companies before the day was over. Now here's the strange part. Most Americans know these businesses incredibly well. They know which restaurant has the best fries, which phone is worth upgrading to, which warehouse club has the lowest grocery prices, which coffee shop has the fastest drive-through. They spend years becoming experts at being customers, but almost no time learning how to become owners. And that one difference quietly separates many wealthy households from everyone else. Because wealthy people don't just consume the economy. They participate in it. Every time a company earns more profits, expands into new cities, launches a successful product, or serves millions of new customers, owners have the opportunity to benefit. Customers simply pay the bill. Now, don't misunderstand this. Being a customer isn't bad. Buying groceries isn't bad. Replacing your old laptop isn't bad. Taking your family out for dinner isn't bad. Money is meant to improve your life. The problem starts when every extra dollar leaves your wallet, and none of it comes back. Imagine trying to fill a bathtub, while someone forgot to put the drain plug in. You keep pouring water in, bucket after bucket, but the level barely rises. That's exactly how many people experience their finances. They work overtime, earn bonuses, receive tax refunds, even get raises. Yet somehow, their bank account never seems to grow. The issue often isn't income. It's that every dollar immediately flows back out. There's nothing left behind that's capable of growing. Think about the average American work week. Monday through Friday. Maybe 40 hours. Sometimes 50. Sometimes even 60. You work hard for every dollar you earn. Now imagine every dollar is an employee. Most people hire that employee on Friday, and fire them by Sunday. Rent takes some. Restaurants take some. Shopping takes some. Entertainment takes some. By Monday morning, every employee is gone. Investors do something different. Instead of firing every dollar, They keep hiring a few permanent employees. Those dollars go out into the economy and start working. Some buy shares of businesses. Some buy broad market index funds. Some earn dividends. Some appreciate in value over long periods. Not every investment succeeds. Some disappoint. Some lose value. That's part of investing. But the important difference is this. Their money isn't sitting idle. It's attempting to produce more money. Now let's talk about something almost everyone experiences. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to justify a small purchase? It's only $9. It's just $20. I deserve it. It's been a stressful week. We've all done it. In fact, our brains are wired that way. Behavioral economists have found that people tend to treat small purchases as insignificant because they don't create immediate financial pain. A single coffee doesn't feel expensive. One online purchase doesn't feel life-changing. A food delivery app doesn't seem like a big deal. Individually, they're not. But wealth isn't built, or lost, in one dramatic moment. It's built through repeated patterns. Imagine someone who spends an extra $20 almost every day without thinking. Coffee, snacks, convenience fees, impulse purchases. By the end of the month, it's hundreds of dollars. By the end of the year, it's thousands. Again, this isn't about never buying coffee. It's about becoming intentional. There's a huge difference between spending on things you genuinely value and spending simply because you're on autopilot. That's where the pause rule comes in. It's one of the simplest habits you can develop. Before making any non-essential purchase, pause for 10 seconds and ask yourself, will I still care about this purchase next month? Then ask a second question. If I invested this money instead, what might it become in 10 years? Notice something important. The question isn't, should I never buy this? The question is this worth giving up the opportunity to invest? Sometimes the answer will be yes. Buy the concert ticket. Take your kids out for ice cream. Celebrate your anniversary. Those experiences matter. Money should support your life, not control it. But other times, you'll realize you're buying something you didn't even want 5 minutes ago. And those are the dollars that quietly disappear from your future. Here's another habit that many financially successful Americans use. They automate their investing. Why? Because they know motivation comes and goes. Some months you'll feel disciplined. Other months you'll forget. Life gets busy. Unexpected expenses pop up. If investing depends on remembering to do it, eventually you'll skip it. That's why automatic investing can be so powerful. Many employer-sponsored retirement plans, like a 401k, let you contribute automatically from each paycheck. Individual investors can also set up recurring contributions to retirement accounts such as an IRA, or to a regular brokerage account if it fits their goals. You never have to decide every month. The habit simply happens. Think of it like paying your future self first. Instead of waiting to see what's left over after spending, you invest first. Then build your lifestyle around the rest. That's the exact opposite of how most people manage money. And here's something even more interesting. Many Americans spend hours trying to save $10 using coupons, comparing gas prices, driving across town to save a few cents per gallon. There's nothing wrong with being frugal. But sometimes people become experts at saving money without ever learning how to grow it. Saving is important. It's your safety net. It helps cover emergencies and short-term goals. But investing is what gives your money the opportunity to outpace inflation and build wealth over decades. You need both. One protects your financial life. The other helps expand it. That's why the wealthiest households often ask a different question than everyone else. Instead of asking, how much did I spend today? They ask, how much did I buy that can continue producing value tomorrow? It's a subtle shift, but subtle shifts repeated over decades create extraordinary outcomes. Because financial freedom isn't usually created by one amazing stock pick. It's created by ordinary people making extraordinary habits feel normal. And in the final part, we're going to bring everything together into a simple blueprint you can start using with your very next paycheck, whether you have $100 to invest or just $10. Your next $100 has two futures. Let's be honest. By now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Investing is important, but what if I don't have thousands of dollars? What if I can only afford $50? Or even 10? Here's the good news. That's exactly how most investors begin. Not with $1 million portfolio. Not with insider knowledge. Not with perfect timing. Just one decision. Then another. Then another. The biggest myth in personal finance is that you need a lot of money before investing matters. In reality, the habit matters first. The amount comes later. Think about learning to work out. Nobody walks into a gym on day one and deadlifts 400 pounds. You start with what you can handle. You build consistency. The strength follows. Investing works the same way. Your first $100 probably won't change your life, but the habit of investing your first $100 absolutely can. Because once you become someone who invests regularly, every future raise, every bonus, every tax refund, every side hustle, has the potential to become another building block for your future wealth. That's how financial momentum starts. Not with one huge leap, but with hundreds of small steps that almost seem too insignificant to matter. Now let's make this practical. Imagine you get paid this Friday. After paying your rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, and other essentials, you have an extra $100 left. Instead of asking, "What should I buy?" try asking yourself 3 different questions. Question number 1. Do I have an emergency fund? If an unexpected car repair or medical bill would force you to use a credit card, building an emergency fund should come before investing extra money. Many financial planners suggest keeping several months of essential living expenses in a readily accessible savings account, though the right amount depends on your situation. That's your financial shock absorber. Investing is for long-term growth. An emergency fund is what helps you avoid selling investments or taking on expensive debt when life throws you a curveball. Question number 2. Am I taking advantage of tax-advantaged accounts? If your employer offers a 401k match, contributing enough to receive the full match is often one of the highest priority investing moves you can make. That's because the match is part of your compensation. After that, depending on your income and goals, accounts like a Roth IRA or traditional IRA may also be worth considering because they offer tax advantages designed to encourage long-term retirement saving. Taxes might not be exciting, but keeping more of your investment returns certainly is. Question number 3. Where should the money go? Here's where many beginners overcomplicate everything. They spend weeks trying to find the next Apple, the next Nvidia, the next Amazon, the next company that's supposedly going to make them rich overnight. Meanwhile, they never actually invest. Analysis becomes procrastination. Successful investing isn't about predicting the future. It's about building a system. For many people, a low-cost, broadly diversified index fund becomes the foundation of that system because it provides exposure to hundreds of companies instead of relying on the success of just one stock. As your knowledge grows, you might decide to research individual companies and dedicate a small portion of your portfolio to businesses you truly understand. But notice the order. Foundation first. Speculation last. Not the other way around. Now here's one of the most powerful exercises you can do after watching this video. Open your banking app tonight. Look at your last month's transactions. Not to judge yourself. Not to feel guilty. Just to observe. Circle every purchase you can't even remember making. Most people are surprised by how many there are. Random online purchases. Impulse buys. Subscription renewals. Convenience fees. Food delivery. Tiny transactions that didn't improve their life in any meaningful way. Now imagine if even a fraction of those dollars had been invested instead. Not all of them. Just some. That's the beauty of personal finance. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to eliminate every luxury. You don't have to become obsessed with saving every penny. You simply have to become intentional. Because intentional money has direction. Unintentional money disappears. Remember Jake and Emily from earlier? The biggest difference between them wasn't intelligence. It wasn't income. It wasn't luck. It was that Emily gave at least some of her money a chance to grow. She understood something Jake didn't. Every dollar has 2 possible futures. It can buy something that loses value the moment you take it home. Or it can buy an asset that has the potential to create more value over time. That's a choice you'll face over and over again. Not once. Not twice. But hundreds of times throughout your life. And here's something that often gets overlooked. Building wealth isn't really about money. It's about buying freedom. Freedom to retire on your own terms. Freedom to take time off without panicking. Freedom to help your kids with college. Freedom to care for aging parents. Freedom to change careers. Freedom to start a business. Freedom to sleep a little better at night because one unexpected expense won't throw your entire life into chaos. That's what investing is really buying. Not just numbers on a screen. Options. Security. Peace of mind. So the next time you're about to spend an extra $100, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, will this purchase make me happy next week? Or could this money become something much bigger if I give it enough time? Sometimes you'll still buy the coffee. And that's okay. Sometimes you'll take the vacation. Celebrate the birthday. Enjoy the dinner. Life is meant to be lived. But maybe, just maybe, you'll also invest a little more often than you used to. Because years from now, your future self won't remember every latte you skipped, but there's a good chance they'll be grateful for every dollar you gave the opportunity to grow. And that is how $100 can quietly begin changing your life. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe because every week we break down investing, personal finance, and wealth building into simple, practical lessons anyone can understand. Thanks for watching. I'm Della. And I'll see you in the next video.